Take it away, Hugh.
I'm up. Well, thank you. I actually didn't deliberately include the SSG on this for obvious reasons, as you can see at the bottom left. This company is a bit of a disaster. It doesn't matter how you look at it, whether you look at manifest investing.
I think I'll speak on behalf of the whole community, Hugh, and just point out that we like to see more E's on the chart.
Yes. Yeah, it would be nice to have a couple here and there. But I will explain to you why I picked this company. Now, it's not an NAIC/better investing worthy company, not by a long shot. And in fact, when you go and read the financials, it's a little bit disconcerting as well. And when you see the evidence summarized on manifest investing, there's really no comfort there either. Bank of America is attractive to me for a number of reasons. Well, it has been an inflictor of pain in the portfolio. It was picked 3 times, and I need to tell you that I think the figure was $1,800. That $1,800 used to be $3,000. The financials are a mess, but they make for very interesting reading. And I really only got into looking at the financials and studying bank stocks recently. I regret not listening to Joe Smith, 12, 15 years ago when he was advising everyone to read financial and insurance companies' financials simply because it's a good education, and he's quite right. What I've been doing actually is reading the financials of small banks so I can really understand the mechanics of what's going on there, and then applying it to companies like Bank of America, where there are a lot of one-time events in revenues and in some cases in costs. But it is a company that's kind of right now lacking in quality and return. And I want to say right here at the get-go that I'm not picking this company in an effort to deteriorate the overall quality and return of the portfolio in an effort to assassinate some of the high flyers and get them out of my way. You could be forgiven for thinking that. And then, of course, the stock selection guide itself is almost pornographic. So this is a company that I'm clearly pitching hard here for everyone to buy, joke. But it's a company that it's at the heart of the financial center in the U.S. and I need to get moving on at a faster clip. So let's move to the next slide, where we can see the presentation from Manifest Investing. And again, the numbers just don't look good. The current price, and I think this price is current, is $7 and change. Return on equity numbers are low, but Bank of America is up there with its peers. And the projected average number of shares outstanding is a colossal, it's a huge number. And I just want to tell you at the get-go that this company has been printing shares with abandon since 2008. So comparing metrics from 4 or 5 years ago, say the hope that the dividend might come back to what it was in the past, is kind of a fool's game unless they buy back loads and loads and loads of shares. The projected annual return is only 7.2%, and the quality of this company overall is a paltry 36.3. It has deteriorated. It was better earlier in the year. So let's move on to the next slide. So that's the second part where we're looking at the fundamental data presented, the price and the projected annual return. This is, I think, from November of last year. I'm not too sure if it will improve in the next update cycle, which it will be coming soon, but we'll see. So let's skip to the next slide. And banks literally make money. It's what they do. It's why feds keep an eye on them. They actually create money. The big secret that they have, which is no secret at all, they've been doing this for thousands of years. They borrow money at a low rate of interest and lend it at a higher one. Right now they can put money at the Federal Reserve and get interest for it that's essentially risk-free. Credit is tight. They're not lending money with abandon like they were in the past. That will change. Bank of America offers things like credit card services. It's now one of the biggest in the country. It is the biggest since it bought MBNA. And of course brokerage and wealth management services through its subsidiary Merrill Lynch. So on slide 23, which follows, the factors that it will influence all banks are the local economy, the global as well, but the local economy. How businesses what's happening in the U.S. As we come out of recession, it will benefit all banks. Lending, borrowing will increase. That benefits banks. The global economy, particularly Europe, could put a drag on banks. That is something that has to be watched really very carefully. And the interest rate environment as well. Interest rates right now are low. banks have been able to get a slightly better spread on interest rates when they were higher. And then the general economy, the propensity to borrow money, that might have changed over the last 5 years. We'll just have to wait and see if the average consumer wants to go out there and borrow more, or if they have really permanently switched into more of a savings rate. We will see. Even savings deposits at banks are useful because they can lend them to other people, particularly industry. So if we go on to slide number 24, so what is good for Bank of America that differentiates it from peers? It's in a lot of trouble. When stocks are low, they're low for a reason. And there are certainly good reasons why the stock price of Bank of America is depressed. Its valuation based on its earnings is lower than its peers, and it does face strong headwinds, but they're beginning to clear up. The mortgage mess is getting sorted out. Bank of America is having to pay for what its subsidiary Countrywide has done in the past, but it's being sorted out in dollars and cents rather than uncertainty, which is good. There is light at the end of the proverbial tunnel, and the fact is that in modern history, and that would be from 1929 on, governments generally don't let big banks fail. Now, they let Lehman Brothers go, but generally they will not let big banks fail. It's bad for the overall economy. We've seen in the last quarter that non-performing loans, while still higher than peers, has dropped substantially from quarter to quarter, from 4.1% to 2.85%. And Basel III is a requirement for what banks have to keep in reserve, and it's pretty strict. And Bank of America probably won't be hit with this for another 5-6 years, but they are on track, as you read the financials quarter to quarter, to hit those goals. And I think this effort on the behalf of not only Bank of America but all banks to divert funds into capital requirements is going to prevent dividend growth when the government says that banks can start paying dividends again. It won't bounce back to the way it would, but I do expect, just looking at history and what happens every time banks blow up the economy or participate in that action, they always come back with abandon. If they don't, it means the economy itself isn't recovering. But I think I might say that on the next slide, number 25. Now, as I've warned, it is a high-risk investment, and it doesn't look like a typical NAIC company. That is the understatement of this year. But there are a few hundred years of history to tell you that banks come back, they heal. Some really bad ones, of course, go under, but banks heal with the economy. And if banks don't recover, the economy doesn't recover either. Banks kind of grease the wheels of the economy, keep things moving. But I would expect, and I'm kind of looking forward to Bank of America staying flat or increasing maybe slightly into the teens for the next 2 to 3 years so I can keep buying it. It has a low load or no load dividend direct stock purchase and dividend reinvestment plan, which I will get involved with soon. But as I said, the issue, the dust is beginning to settle. The mortgage mess, which was a big uncertainty, is beginning to get some scaffolding around it. People can understand how to handle it. But Europe, on the other hand, that's the big unknown, but that affects everyone. And then if we move on to slide 26. Oh, so I'm done. I'm sorry, that was the conclusion side. I took the one that said conclusion out. So I'm going to go for Bank of America again at its current price of $7 and change. I know when I bought it before it was higher. I have to say I have been buying Bank of America personally, full disclosure, since October of 2010. And I will continue to buy it. And I only discovered about its direct stock purchase plan recently, so I will get involved with that too. Okay, so I will add this quality company to the portfolio.
And I guess from our perspective, I would just encourage people if they study the company, one of the things that you'll see is that at Manifest Investing, we have a consensus expectation for the return on equity in the future to be about 4%. That seems awfully low to me. I think that people are being awfully tough on the company, and if you can build an expectation, a reasonable expectation, that could go back to 6 or 8 or 10%, obviously the projected return is much higher than 7%. So study it with that in mind. I think you're going to see it start to drift that way as the analysts continue to rake over the company.